2024, the live-action adaptation of the manga Parasite, The Grey Army, is released. A thrilling series. One day, out of nowhere, a large number of spiky spores fall from the sky onto the earth. The moment they touch the ground, thorny creatures emerge from the spores. They search for human traces everywhere, and whenever they find an opportunity, they burrow into the ears of humans. In the next moment, those humans become controlled.
좀 일어나봐. 재미없어. 잘하자.
Just as the girl leaves, the young man wakes up from his unconscious state. He finds himself amidst a dancing crowd. Suddenly, his hat splits open, dividing into 4 sharp sickles. In the center of the dance floor, he goes on a killing spree, brutally murdering the young people dancing. Meanwhile, Dany, a cashier at a supermarket, encounters a mentally ill customer, Carter. He comes to the counter with a box of unweighed meat to check out. Dany reminds him to weigh it first, calculate the price before proceeding to check out. Dany repeatedly reminds him to go and weigh it. Carter curses, saying he'll kill her, and then leaves the supermarket. Dany thinks it's just an angry remark from Carter, but as she rides her bike home from work, Carter drives from behind and knocks her down, then gets out of the car with a knife. He stabs her several times in the waist. After Dany manages to knock him down, she walks towards the nearby woods, but after a few steps, she collapses to the ground. The man chases after Dany's position, while Dany lies on the ground, barely breathing. However, a miracle happens in the next moment. Shortly after, a car passes by. The driver calls the police, and Dany is taken to the hospital. After the police investigate the scene, the assailant, Carter, during the pursuit of Dany, was suddenly split in half. Victim Dany has scars from being stabbed in the waist. After examination, these scars didn't appear recently. These phenomena also puzzle the police. The police leader heard Dany's name. He quickly comes to the hospital to see her. It turns out the police chief is Dany's uncle. Dany tells her uncle that she was stabbed with a knife but has no wounds. Uncle thinks Dany was stimulated, causing her memories to become confused. After the police leave, Dany tries to recall what happened that night. She remembers that after she fell to the ground, she suddenly felt intense pain and was convulsing. Then she lost consciousness. Several months later, for her safety, she starts taking the bus to commute. On this day, she's sitting on the bus when she suddenly experiences a ringing in her ears and feels like her head is about to explode. She looks up and sees a man staring at her. The man's gaze makes Dany feel scared. Dany hastily gets off the bus. Meanwhile, Mace, with a beautiful woman, is looking for a place to spend the night. Mace initially wanted to find a luxury hotel, but the woman wants to go back to her own home. Mace has no choice but to follow the woman's instructions and arrives at a remote and dilapidated building. After arriving at the destination, the beautiful woman starts undressing, and Mace is about to undress when suddenly, 4 people enter from outside. They discuss how to eat Mace. Mace took out his phone and prepared to call the police, but the next moment, a beam of light appears outside the window, followed by a smoke bomb breaking through the window. Mace takes the opportunity to escape the room, but the woman doesn't want to let him go. She chases after him closely. It turns out this is a specialized team established to deal with parasites. The newly formed Grey Army. They have professional equipment and can kill a parasite with just one shot. Several other parasitic beasts were eliminated before they could escape. Only Mac managed to escape by jumping out of the window. However, as he passed by a police car, he suddenly sensed another one inside. There was a fully restrained parasite inside the car, constantly pressing a remote control in his hand. Soon, Captain Nora of the Grey Squad arrived. Mike was too fast, and Nora couldn't catch up with him alone. Afterwards, they conducted a cleanup operation in the building. Nora discovered a tightly locked door, and after opening the door, the scene inside startled everyone. The glass cabinet is filled with human body parts, and there's a special mark hanging next to it. This is how the parasites mark their food storage. Late at night, gang member Gene seeks refuge at his sister's house, only to find his sister, who has a brain tumor, in high spirits. She doesn't show any signs of illness. He senses something unusual about his sister. When his sister leaves the house late at night, he quietly follows her. He follows her all the way, until they reach a junkyard filled with abandoned vessels. She and another man surround Dany. They sense that Dany is one of them, but they're not entirely sure, so he reveals his true form, wanting to test Dany. It turns out Dany has also been parasitized by the creatures. The man ordered Dany to join the organization established by the parasitic beasts, known as the Prayer Revival. Dany has only two choices, either join them or be killed. The man tells Dany to consider it carefully, and then walks away. Meanwhile, Jean, who has been observing everything, prepares to escape, but accidentally steps on a water bottle. In the next moment, transformed Dany grabs him. Dany asks Jean to help him with one thing and then let him go. Shortly after, Dany reverts to her human appearance, waking up from unconsciousness, and Jean waits nearby. He approaches Dany as she wakes up. It turns out that after being stabbed last time, the parasites entered her ear. Originally, the parasites were going to completely devour her brain and take control of her body, but due to Dany's severe injury, the parasites healed her wounds first, saving her life. Thus, she missed the perfect opportunity to eat the brain completely. Since then, it has parasitized Dany's body and coexisted with her. The parasite inside Dany is named Heidi. After completing the task given by Heidi, Jean leaves the junkyard. While Dany returns home, she has been reflecting on what Jean said. To explore its truthfulness, she writes a sentence in her notebook. "Am I housing someone else in my body?" She then lies on the bed to rest her eyes. But as soon as she closes her eyes, in the instant she opens them again, 5 minutes have already passed. She turns back to look at her notebook and finds a line of text appearing on it. Heidi asks Dany to write down all his doubts in his notes, so that he can answer them one by one. The next day, at the Number police station, he held a mysterious meeting. Stringent checks are conducted before entering the venue. The meeting is led by Captain Nora of the Grey Squad, where she presents an incident that occurred several months ago. A tragic incident that took place at a concert, introducing the existence of parasites to them. A sample is also presented on site. A few months ago, there was a spore rain, from which many parasites hatched. The parasites enter through people's noses, ears, or mouths, and invade the brain. They completely devour the brain, and take control of the body. Shortly after, the parasitized individuals transform into monsters. There is only one food for these monsters, and that is humans. The monsters can freely alter their appearance, shape, and hardness, even becoming as sharp as knives, because they look just like humans. The method to identify the monsters is to pull out one of their hairs, and if the hair wriggles, then it's a monster. Jean, a member of a gang being pursued by enemies, looks at a pamphlet for the Prayer Revival Society. He knows that this emerging cult organization consists of non-human members. In order to understand this organization, he sneaks into the church base located in the mountains. He hides here, while also waiting for his friend to pick him up. Meanwhile, Dany, a semi-parasitic being, has just finished work, where she is intercepted by two parasites on her way. Due to Dany's unique nature, the pastor of the church becomes interested in her, and invites her to attend a church ceremony. The man in the passenger seat shows an aggressive stance, and warns Dany that if she refuses, a big battle will be inevitable. Dany compromises and gets into their car. Meanwhile, Jean, who is spying on the cult from a hillside, becomes intrigued by a factory building near the base. He wants to know what the parasites might have placed inside. Taking advantage of the parasites' meeting, he quietly enters the building. However, as soon as he enters, the scene inside deeply shocks him. Plastic bags are hanging everywhere here, each bag containing a person. Jean observes his surroundings in the factory, but unintentionally makes a noise. Although the sound is extremely faint, the parasite guard outside the door hears it clearly. The guard enters the factory building to patrol. Assuming an attacking stance, his head transforms into a sharp sickle, with eyes on the sickle scanning the surroundings. Jean and the guard engage in a game of hide and seek. Meanwhile, the pastor of the church informs the believers that humans are weaker than them, but in order to survive, they parasitize human bodies, and humans themselves are also parasitic within an invisible entity called Organization. They sacrifice for it, doing a series of things unrelated to survival, to pledge loyalty to this organization, and that's why humans are more powerful than parasites. So, we must create such an organization. Jean continues to evade the guard, and at that moment, he slips and nearly falls. When he looks up, he sees someone that brings him immense sorrow. His missing sister is actually here. She has already turned into a corpse. Jean touches his sister's cheek. Anger clouds his mind. The sound of Jean fight against the guard catches the attention of the believers. Under the pastor's instructions, all the believers start chasing Jean, while Dany takes the opportunity to escape. Jean knows he is no match for the parasites, so after fighting the guard for a while, he starts running. However, as soon as he reaches a path, he encounters several members of the pursuing young Pudong gang. At this moment, Jean no longer harbors resentment. He shouts, urging them to quickly leave by car. However, the squad leader considers himself fearless, pulls out a small dagger, ready to engage in combat with the believers. But as soon as he reaches the believers, his head spins around. The remaining gang members are brave. They know they are facing a monster, yet they still want to fight. They're all killed by the parasites. Taking advantage of their fight, Jean escapes. He coincidentally bumps into the fleeing Dany. Jean asks Dany to take him to the Nanchuan gas station, where his friend Eric is waiting for him. After dealing with these gang members, Colin, among the believers, instructs others to put the bodies in the storage room. While he goes after the fleeing Jean, Colin leaps into the air, and his head transforms into wings. Meanwhile, Jean has found his friend Eric. After asking Eric for the car keys, he immediately drove away in the car, without daring to waste any time. On the road, Jean couldn't understand how his hiding place was discovered, how the young Pudong gang found him. He guessed someone must have betrayed him. Suddenly, he realized something. He had only told Eric about hiding in the mountains. It turned out that it was Eric who reported the secret to the young Pudong gang. Seeing that he was exposed, Eric immediately took out a dagger to kill Jean. Just then, Dany felt a ringing in her ears. She knew it was the followers of the cult, getting closer and closer to her. In the next moment, Colin descended from the sky. He instantly turned their car into a convertible. The parasitic creature Heidi, living inside Dany, sensed danger. She revealed her true form and fought against Colin. While during their fight, Colin accidentally stabbed Eric. To save Eric, Jean deliberately made a sharp turn with the car. Although he successfully threw Colin off the car lost control and almost fell off the cliff. Heidi also jumped off the car and continued to fight against Colin. Although Heidi only had half a body, her strength was in no way inferior to Colin's. Meanwhile, Jean woke up from the impact and it woke up Eric. Jean wanted to escape with him to survive. Even at this moment, Jean never suspected Eric as a traitor. Yet later, the truth Eric revealed made Jean unable to accept it. It turned out that the leader of his own gang wanted to betray Jean. Jean couldn't accept it for a while. Looking at the dead Eric, he could only force a bitter smile. On the other side, Colin warned Heidi, as a parasitic creature, she was actually fighting against her own kind. She wouldn't have a good outcome. Colin planned to go back and tell the priest about this matter. However, just as he sprouted wings to fly away, he was instantly killed by Heidi. After killing Colin, Heidi transformed back into Dany. She quickly approached the edge of the cliff, trying to save Jean, who was trapped in the car. Dany reached out her hand to grab Jean, but the distance between them was still too far. Just then, the car suddenly slid forward and fell off the cliff, and Dany, not being able to stand firm, slid down as well. Sensing the danger to Dany, Heidi appeared once again and saved the two of them. A live spore fell onto the man's car. The next moment, a creature hatched from the spore. Just as he stared at the creature in front of him, trying to identify its species, the creature burrowed into his ear and entered his brain. After a moment, the man's brain was devoured by the creature, and his body was taken over by the creature. He transformed into a parasite. He arrived at a nearby supermarket. Coincidentally, his wife Nora, who was shopping, saw him. The man turned into a parasite. Without mercy, he attacked his wife and cut off her ear. He then went on a rampage in the supermarket. Nora was originally a police officer. She was agile and quick-witted. She grabbed a bottle of corrosive cleaning liquid. She lured her husband into an empty room. Seizing the opportunity, she threw the cleaning liquid onto her husband's face. The next moment, his face was corroded, causing immense pain. Taking advantage of the situation, Nora locked her husband in the room. As she looked at her husband transformed into a parasite, her heart ached. However, in this world, there were many parasites like this. Monsters like these parasites are harmful to humans. They should be destroyed. But Nora proposed to keep her husband for another purpose. Parasites have a distinctive trait. Whenever there are others of their kind nearby, they experience a strong ringing sensation in their ears. So Nora securely restrains her husband and gives him a remote control. Whenever he senses the presence of other parasites, he presses the remote control. This type of parasite controlled by humans has an alternate name, Hound. In the following months, Nora utilizes the Hound and the Grey Corps to search nationwide and eradicate the parasites. Recently, the Grey Corps led by Nora collaborates with the police to investigate a cult. It is rumored that the members of this cult are all parasites. However, upon their arrival, they find no members at all, except for 500 human body parts discovered in a factory building at the cult's base. Officer Kim Ji-maen, who came to investigate together, notices a key on the ground, recognizing the keychain on it as the one he gave to his niece, Dany. It seems that Dany has some connection to the cult. He puts the key in his pocket to prevent others from seeing it. After completing the search at the cult's base, they held a meeting. After the investigation, the cult's leader is named Kevin. However, just a few weeks ago, Kevin and his wife were reported missing. Nora wants to ask police officers to investigate Kevin's current whereabouts. Chief Mac volunteers for the task. Nevertheless, he didn't conduct an investigation. He goes directly to a warehouse. Upon entering the warehouse, he realizes that it's filled with cult members. It turns out Mac is a spy for the parasites. He is a human himself, but for some reason, it chose to serve the parasites. Kevin gave Mac a dagger capable of killing the Hound. It's a weapon crafted specifically to hunt and kill parasites. Meanwhile, Kim Ji-maen, who found his niece's key at the cult's base, wants to know why his niece appeared in the cult. He arranges to meet her at an abandoned amusement park. As soon as he leaves the police station, he is spotted by Nora from behind. Nora has been suspicious of him all along. Seeing Kim Ji-maen leaving, she is certain something is up, so she follows him. Kim Ji-maen wants to know the reason why Dany were in the cult, but Dany is unwilling to reveal that she's a half-parasite to him. During their conversation, Nora has already arrived at the abandoned amusement park with the Hound. Following that, the alarm sounds, indicating the Hound has detected nearby parasites. Before backup arrives, Nora rushes in with a shotgun. She intends to eliminate the parasites. Fortunately, Jean intervenes in time, knocking Nora down. To evade Nora, Jean takes Dany and runs into the haunted house in the amusement park. They hide behind a low wall. The next moment, the parasite Heidi, hidden inside Dany's body, senses the danger and reveals her true form. Heidi suggests that she'll stall Nora, allowing Jean to escape first. Jean takes the opportunity to escape. He goes outside to steal a car, but witnesses a horrifying scene. Chief Mac holds a dagger and crazily stabs the Hound. This is the task Kevin assigned to him. The Hound desperately presses the distress button on the remote control. Nora receives the signal, believing that new parasites have appeared nearby. She doesn't go out to investigate, as they have already surrounded Dany. Nora instructs her subordinates to capture Dany alive. If necessary, they can't shoot her. She leaves the haunted house, but when she reaches outside, she discovers that the Hound is already dead. Nora looks at her husband's face, falling into grief. After a moment, she forced herself to remain calm. She removes the helmet from her husband's head and places it on Dany, who has been captured. Since the previous Hound is already dead, now she will train Dany to become the new Hound. The new drama starring the queen of the music industry, Lee Yoon-hyun, is released. She turns into a female police officer who hunts demons and eliminates evil spirits. Yoon-hyun portrays Nora. She's transferring humans who are half-parasites. However, they are ambushed as soon as they reach the bridge. A few hours ago, Nora captured her, who is a half-parasite, as an extremely special entity. Dany has high research value. Therefore, the leaders of the Grey instructed Nora to quickly take Dany to the headquarters. Upon hearing this news, Detective Kim Ji-maen is extremely angry. He doesn't want his niece to become an experimental subject. Meanwhile, Dany, who is tightly restrained, suddenly awakens from her subconscious. She encounters the parasite Heidi, who possesses her body. In order to protect Dany, temporarily seals off her consciousness. Within their subconscious, they witness the memories that Dany least wants to revisit. Dany's father always abused her mother. Her mother eventually left home. Her father then redirected the abuse towards young Dany, until one day, she couldn't tolerate it anymore. She called the police and had her father arrested. However, her brave act of self-defense drew criticism and gossip from the neighbors. They considered Dany's actions as unfilial. Only Officer Kim Ji-maen, who rescued her, protected her. Since then, Kim Ji-maen became Dany's uncle. After Dany's father was arrested, she became alone and lonely. With the help of the police, she found her mother, who had formed a new family. She thought her mother would be happy to see her, but when they met, her mother tried to avoid her. Her mother approached and gave her a few Korean won bills and advised her not to look for her in the future. After her mother finished speaking, She left without looking back. Heidi tells Dany her mother doesn't dislike her, but the entire environment she used to be in, and that environment happened to include Dany. 2 hours later, Nora is about to start transferring Dany. The spy Mac in the police station calls the cult leader Kevin to inform him. Kevin immediately organizes the parasite to prepare for the abduction of Dany. Meanwhile, worried about Dany, Kim Ji-mayen finds Jean, hoping he can help rescue Dany. Because he is a police officer, he can do it himself. He asks Jean for help. Under Kim Mayen's persuasion, Jean decides to rescue Dany. Kim Ji-mayen devises a plan for Jean to let Jean infiltrate the soldier's changing room. After changing into a soldier's uniform, he disguises himself as a guard accompanying the transfer and boards the transfer vehicle, ready to find an opportunity to rescue Dany. Nevertheless, as the transfer team just reached the bridge, they encountered a traffic jam. 2 soldiers walked to the front to check the traffic jam, only to discover a series of car accidents. Just when they thought it was a regular traffic accident, an unexpected event occurred. It turns out it was a plan to abduct Dany. They deliberately caused the accident on the bridge, blocking the path of the transfer vehicle. Captain Nora ordered the driver to turn around and leave. She charged forward with a shotgun to fight the enemies. As soon as she got off the car, the driver was killed by the parasite. The deceased driver didn't pull the handbrake in time. The truck continued to slide forward for a distance. To avoid the truck, Nora dodged to the side, but ended up hitting a stone pillar and passed out. Meanwhile, Jean, inside the transfer vehicle, took the opportunity to escape from the compartment. He happened to see Nora fainting by the roadside. He took the remote control from her and was about to unlock the restraints on Dany, but as soon as he turned around, the fainting Nora woke up. At that moment, more and more parasite appeared. Nora let go of Jean to fight the parasite. Jean approached Dany with the remote control. He didn't know which button was for unlocking, so he pressed the buttons randomly. Unexpectedly, it directly unlocked the restraints. Immediately, Dany woke up from her subconscious. Jean pretended to be a soldier and commandeered a random car and prepared to leave with Dany. Before leaving, Dany saw Uncle Kim Ji-mayen. The situation is urgent. They don't have time to talk at all. After silently looking at each other, they both understood what the other was thinking, that Jean was preparing to escape with Dany, but was kidnapped by Mac. Kang Won-suk also drove to chase after them, and Kim Ji-mayen happened to be his partner. In order to not expose his involvement in the plan to abduct Dany, he followed Mac to chase after Dany. Jean and Dany were running ahead. Mac and Kim Ji-mayen were chasing from behind. They ran all the way from the city to the countryside, but just as they reached an intersection, Mac suddenly turned around and stopped chasing, and took Kim Ji-mayen to an abandoned greenhouse. Meanwhile, Dany suddenly felt a ringing in her ears. She knew there were other parasites nearby. She guessed that Uncle Kim Ji-mayen must be in danger. She wanted Jean to turn back, but Jean didn't want to go back and take risks, so Dany got out of the car alone. She ran towards Kim Mayen's location. On the other side, Mac confessed to Kim Ji-mayen that he had been a police officer for so many years, but his salary was very low. He couldn't even afford his son's tuition. That's why he chose to join the cult founded by Kevin. Here, he has a lot of wealth. He wants to invite Kim Ji-mayen to join as well, but Kim Ji-mayen pulled out a handgun and refused, no matter how to try to persuade him. It wasn't effective. Suddenly, Kevin appeared from behind. The parasite that Dany sensed earlier was him. Despite Dany running desperately, she was still one step too late. Kim Ji-mayen was parasitized by Kevin. Heidi, the parasite inside Dany, sensed the danger. She revealed her true form and fought with Kevin. Just as they were fighting fiercely, Jean, who didn't want to be a coward, suddenly appeared in a car. He escaped with Dany. Meanwhile, Kim Ji-mayen had been completely parasitized by Kevin and became a parasite. Parasite leader Kevin, after transferring into the body of police officers Kim Ji-mayen, he attended an internal meeting of the Grey. Although the Grey has been desperately trying to prevent the existence of parasite from being revealed. However, the last abduction incident happened in plain sight and was captured by on-site netizens and post online. The Korean folk festival is approaching. They must eliminate the parasite before that, the higher-ups proposed. Since the citizens are already aware of the existence of the parasite, let the citizens voluntarily record clues, and let the Grey act upon these clues to exterminate the parasite. In just a few hours, Kim Ji-mayen received a report. The informant attached many photos. The photos showed the warehouse door, with markings belonging to the parasite. According to witnesses, there are approximately 20 parasites in this warehouse. It seems like this is the new nest of the parasite. However, as the leader of the parasite, Kim Ji-mayan, not only did he not discourage the police, but urged them to proceed quickly. After the meeting ended, Nora received a phone call. The caller was Dany, who wants to meet her to discuss some urgent matters. They meet on the rooftop. Nora mentioned Kim Ji-mayan's attitude when she received the report today. He has been emphasizing the need to take immediate action against the parasite. If he is really a parasite, why would he attack his own kind? Nora had set up an ambush here before coming to capture Dany and make her their hound. While sensing that Dany was in danger, the parasite Heidi possessing her revealed itself and jumped from the 10-story building with her to escape. Kim Ji-mayan and Mac have made their decision to launch an operation against the warehouse where the parasite gather. After hearing Dany's words, she had some suspicions about Kim Ji-mayan and Kong Won-suk. So, while riding the elevator, she cut a strand of Mac's hair. If Kong Won-suk is a parasite, then the cut hair would wriggle within a short time. After sending away to others, Nora picked up Mac's hair from the floor, but she found it to be just ordinary human hair. She thought she had misplaced her trust in Suwon. What Nora didn't know was that Mac was a human, but he was loyal to the parasite organization. The assault on the warehouse began. They chose to do it at night. The Grey Special Forces entered the warehouse to slaughter, while Kim Ji-mayan stood guard outside with a shotgun. If they spotted any escapees, he would immediately open fire. Yet, the scene of him killing his own kind was witnessed by another fellow, Dany. After successfully exterminating all the parasites here, Nora called Dany to inform her that this extermination operation was not a trap. This puzzled Dany. She didn't expect that Kim Ji-mayan would attack his own kind. At this moment, Jean noticed a nearby giant poster, which had written on it, "The mayor will participate in the Korean Folk Music Festival." He had a bold idea. They speculated the parasite inhabiting Kim Ji-mayan might be seeking an opportunity to transfer to the mayor. After exterminating over 20 parasites in the warehouse, Kim Ji-mayan held a press conference where he detailed the extermination process and issued 2 wanted orders for the parasite, which included Dany and Dany, who witnessed Kim Ji-mayan killing his own kind. After the press conference, Nora found Kim Ji-mayan, the previous Kim Ji-mayan, who was willing to protect Dany at all costs. But why did he issue a wanted order for Dany today? Nora didn't understand. Why did Kim Ji-mayan's attitude towards Dany undergo such a significant change? She asked Kim Ji-mayan if he remembered or not the last time at the abandoned amusement park, what he gave to Dany. Of course, Kim Ji-mayan, currently possessed by a parasite, didn't know. After Dany learned about being wanted, she contacted Dany, and they, once enemies, decided to cooperate. Dany went to the botanical garden and met Dany and informed her about Kim Ji-mayan's plan. They decided to work together to stop Kim Ji-mayan and eliminate him completely. On the other side, Kim Ji-mayan, to get rid of Nora, who suspected him, he fabricated a parasite tip-off for the higher-ups. The higher-ups dispatched Nora to lead the Grey Team 3 to investigate in Gangwon-do. The higher-ups gave the order. Nora didn't dare to hesitate. She led Team 3 towards Gangwon-do. While halfway there, she received a call from Dany. Dany told Nora that she made a mistake. She learned it from Dany that Mac wasn't a parasite, but a regular human. He was merely loyal to the parasite organization, and he had killed Dany's previous hound.
풍물축제에서 시장을 죽이고 그 몸으로 갈아타는 거야.
After hearing Dany's words, it made Nora even more suspicious of Kim Ji-mayan. She ordered her subordinates to return to the music festival venue. Meanwhile, the music festival had already begun, and the mayor had also arrived. Upon seeing the mayor, Kim Ji-mayan walked over and directly attacked the mayor. Seeing this, he pretended to be a kind person in front of the mayor. He knocked down Kim Ji-mayan with a cart and hid in a place where no one could see him. He fired 2 blank shots after gaining the mayor's trust. To help him leave, it appeared that Mac was saving him, but in reality, he wanted to find a secluded place to allow Kim Ji-mayan to transfer to the mayor. When Nora arrived with her team, they discovered that Kim Ji-mayan's head was missing. Meanwhile, Mac, who was escaping with the mayor, opened his clothes. To their surprise, the parasite that was on Kim Ji-mayan's head was underneath his clothes. At the critical moment when the parasite was about to succeed, Dany suddenly arrived. Dany stayed behind to fight the parasite, while Jean quickly took the mayor away. However, the next moment, Dany was pierced through the body by the parasite. In the end, and he died under the parasite's continuous attacks. Now, there were only the parasite and Mac left in the warehouse. If the parasite couldn't find another body quickly, it would soon lose its vitality. So Mac became the best current host for the parasite. It immediately chose to parasitize Mac's neck. Jean brought the mayor to the warehouse. Parasitize Mac also arrived quickly. He knew the mayor was hiding somewhere here. The next moment, his head turned into tall and large eyes, carefully searching every corner. Jean knew that hiding like this would soon be discovered. He lit the fireworks behind him. They wanted to escape while the smoke filled the air, but the mayor was caught by Mac. Fortunately, Heidi arrived in time. Heidi could sense Dany's hatred towards Mac. The parasite parasitized on Mac was the culprit who killed Uncle Kim Ji-Mayan. Although Heidi was a semi-parasite, its power was stronger than other parasite, because in every battle, she had to emerge victorious to ensure Dany's body remained intact for her own survival. Heidi was unlike other parasite. If her body was damaged, she could still switch to a new one. The failed parasitism of Heidi caused her to be permanently parasitic in Dany's body, unable to transfer. That's why in every battle, she gave it her all. Heidi arrived at the War Memorial Museum and found the fleeing Mac, but for some reason, his brain was missing, leaving behind an empty shell. It turned out that the parasite inside Mac had split itself apart, preparing to ambush Heidi. At that moment, Nora also arrived at the Memorial Museum and coincidentally encountered them who were in a standoff. At this moment, Nora still believed that Mac was just a human, although Mac made him aim the gun at Dany, but with doubts in her heart, she didn't pull the trigger. At that moment, Mac's split form appeared behind him, ready to ambush her. Heidi left a sentence asking to treat Dany well, then fainted after waiting for the support of the Grey to arrive. Nora told her subordinates that Dany was just an ordinary human and the matter had settled. Some time later, Dany found another convenience store to continue working. On this morning, Jean came to find her. They went for a walk at the harbor together to welcome the sunrise. Jean is no longer a member of the gang, but a formal officer of the Grey. Jean took out a letter. It was sent by Heidi. Heidi hoped Jean could help read it to Dany. Initially, Heidi believed she didn't completely devour Suin's brain and felt unsuccessful in controlling her body, but as time went on with more contact with Dany, she began to be glad she could parasitize inside Dany's body and coexist with her. From then on, Dany was no longer alone in facing life. However, the story was not yet over. The Grey received a Japanese guest. He claimed to be a top expert in parasite, and this person was the protagonist of the Parasite movie, Shinichi Itsumi.